Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here, bringing you another video about vintage baseball cards. I don't know about you, but this is my favorite time of the year. I don't want winter to get here very quick because I don't like cold weather, but I do know that at the end of the summer comes playoff baseball. And there's nothing I like more than postseason baseball. It might change if the Chiefs can win another Super Bowl, but I really like this time of year because you got college football halfway over. You got NFL football a quarter of the way through. And you got postseason baseball, and there's something to watch and something to do all the time. And since it's postseason baseball, I got to thinking about my favorite team, my favorite postseason team, and that team was the 1975 Cincinnati Reds. And that's the project that I'm working on down here in my card room for a display. Um, I have some memorabilia that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you some cards. But that 75 team was incredible. Um, they were good in early 70s, 70, 74. The Big Red Machine was great with some great players. Some guys that went through there that's not on that team is guys like Dennis Menke and Lee May and Hal McRae. And they weren't on the team like in 74. And in 74, a lot of people think they moved Pete Rose to third base to make room for George Foster. But that is not true. I got this verified by Ken Griffey and Johnny Bench. And what happened was in 74, Pete Rose wasn't a very good defensive player. He's playing left field. He's a great player. Was an all-star at 5 different positions. So I'm not. But they talked him into moving third base because they had a young guy named Dan Dreesen at third in 74. In 74, he made 24 errors, but according to Johnny Bench, he was closer to 35. It's just the score, the score keeper was very generous at home for him. So to make everything better, they talked Pete Rose into moving to third so they could make room for Dan Dreesen in his bat. Now Dan Dreesen had a huge bat. Matter of fact, could have been. He was the first DH. A lot of people don't know this, but he was the first DH of a National League team in a World Series when he played the DH in 1976 for the Cincinnati Reds. But they got a player named George Foster who was so hot that they couldn't take him out of the lineup, and he was playing left field, and they just couldn't take him out of the lineup. But by moving Pete Rose to third base and moving George Foster to the outfield, that team became great, and they got better defensively at both spots, and they got better offensively too. And so, anyway, what I'm going to show you. Oh, first, let me tell you how good that team was. They won 108 games. They lost 54. I believe they could have won more. They had a pitching staff. Look up your favorite team or your best team, because I'm not going to do this for a lot of things. But their pitching staff had 0 pitchers that pitched for them that year that had a losing record. And that's going to be hard for people. I mean, because people get called up for a game or two or that kind of stuff. But they didn't have a single pitcher that had a losing record. They had 5 people with over 10 wins. Sparky Anderson wouldn't allow him to stay in the game. He was called Captain Hook for a reason. And so I bet there's 5 or 6 pitchers that have 60 innings or close to 60 innings on that team. But I was told, as a coach one time, I was told if you're good up the middle defensively, you're going to have a good team. Well, Johnny Bench was a Gold Glove catcher that year. Joe Morgan played second base, Gold Glove. Shortstop was Dave Concepcion. And with my apologies to Barry Larkin, I think Dave Concepcion might be the best shortstop to ever play in Cincinnati. And I believe he should be in the Hall of Fame. He actually won a couple Silver Slugger awards later on in his career. And in center field, they had a light hitting center fielder who was fast named Cesar Geronimo, and he was a Gold Glover for many years. So they were so solid up the middle. And how about this for an infield? Johnny Bench made the All-Star team. Tony Perez made the All-Star team. Joe Morgan made the All-Star team, and Dave Concepcion and Pete Rose. Now the players they had over 2,000 hits. Look at all the players they had that had over 2,000 hits career. Bench, Perez, Morgan, Concepcion, Rose, Foster, and King Griffey Sr. He's got to be close. I didn't look that up. They MVP votes in 1975 alone. Joe Morgan got MVP. Johnny Bench finished fourth. Pete Rose finished fifth, and Tony Perez finished 15th. I mean, that was a solid team. That was a great team. So let me look them up, Google them, do a little bit of research. It's a fun team. Now I'm going to show you what I'm working on. Let me flip this around. So I've had this picture up here of Johnny Bench on my wall, and that's Tony Perez, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, and Pete Rose on that photo. Now I traded for most of these bats with Tyler, my friend Tyler, who, by the way, he is selling a ton of bats on high bid. And over the next couple of months, he has over 800 bats. Now look at these cards. There's Tony Perez, rookie card. Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, and Pete Rose. Now, the only autograph I do not have a Tony Perez ball. Let me sit back down here. I do not have a Tony Perez ball, but I plan on getting one. So what I'd like you to do is I would like to compare your favorite team to that team and see how well it stands up. And guys, remember, it's only a hobby. Collect what you like.